Hi, my name is Maggie Witherspoon, and this is my reflection video for the rhetorical analysis essay that I wrote for Dr. Gail York's RC 2001 class. In this assignment, we got to choose an article in our field of study to do a rhetorical analysis on, and I chose an article on physician-assisted suicide in the medical field. And it's an up-and-coming topic. It's been around for a few years, and it's just recently started getting news, and it's legal in Canada and Oregon and California. And people oppose it. The main reason it's controversial is people worry that it is abused or that it could be just for the negative impacts that it could have on if someone is not in their right mind choosing to have the procedure done. The article I chose to do a rhetorical analysis on was called Religion and Attitudes Towards Physician-Assisted Suicide and Terminal Palliative Care by Amy Burdett, Terrence Hill, and Benjamin Moulton. And the article was not so much an argumentative article trying to persuade a topic. It was more of a presentation of data found from a study that they did. And it was information taken from the General Social Survey of 1995, and it was the tone and voice of the article were hard to analyze at first until I realized that they were mainly just academic and they were meant to have no real tone or voice or personal aspect to them, because it was meant to be unbiased and objective and not meant to have any just personal opinions, because they are presenting factual information and they have to rid the whole article of bias. And so, using their academic tone and academic rhetoric, they had strong appeals to ethos and logos because of the academic voice that they chose to take, as well as the way that they portrayed the information. They had a lot of graphs and tables and figures presenting the data, which just someone who's not familiar with the information or with the field, it would have been more difficult to interpret. But along with the graphs, they explained the information verbally, which was very helpful, and it allowed for a stronger appeal to ethos because it allowed the reader to realize that the authors knew what they were talking about, because they could explain the information in more than one way, and it allowed the reader to become closer with the author and with the information, because they could understand it easier or more easily. And there was not much of an appeal to pathos just because of how non-biased the article was, but there is kind of an indirect appeal to pathos in that the topic of religion and death is a very sensitive topic, especially to some people, and I could see how being given this information could cause an emotional response or cause a change of heart or opinion on such a topic. And I had difficulty finding an article because the research question, how has religion made an impact on people's views of physician-assisted suicide, is very specific. And there were tons of articles that I found on physician-assisted suicide alone, but there was only a few, like a handful, on how religion affected that. And the article I found was just perfect. It fit the bill for what I needed, and and I learned a lot from being able to, do this assignment. I learned that there are many people. The people do worry about this procedure because they worry that it can be abused, but there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through in order for the procedure to, reach fruition. You have to have a presiding physician or doctor clear that you are of a sound mind and that you're not making a rash decision, and you have to fill out so much paperwork, and there's a lot that you have to go through, and so it would be very hard to go through this process not really wanting it for the right reasons. And they've set up all these procedures to make sure of that. And also, the article also discussed palliative care, which is not only it's care given to a patient with a terminal illness, and the patient is at that point in their illness, they know that they're not going to make it, and there's no way that they can be cured, but they just want care to relieve pain and discomfort, and that's what palliative care is. And it's a lot more common because everyone with everyone who's close to the end of their life and an illness is the cause of that, they have this sort of care because I mean, doctors don't want anyone to suffer, which is why physician-assisted suicide became a thing. Personally, I don't feel like I would ever use this uh, form of ending my life because I'm a very religious person and I feel like it's not up to me to decide when I leave this earth. I feel like that's up to God. But that's my personal opinion, and everyone else. I mean, it's a thing. It's the process has been established because there are people out there who that's what they need and that's what's good for them, and that's awesome because it's not worth being miserable and suffering. And if people clear the process and they feel like that's the best decision for them and their family, then I feel like that's great, and that I'm glad that it's a thing. But I personally know that I wouldn't want to employ my right to do that. Um, so I really liked this assignment though because I was glad that I got to interact with information in my field of study, which was medicine, because I am a pre-med student and I plan on going to medical school. And I'm interested to see how it plays out and how much more prevalent it becomes in the future. Um, yeah, and I'll be interested to see if I get to like what kind of work I'll be able to do with it once if it's still you know around once I'm in medical school, which I'm sure it will be. So, yeah, thank you for listening and have a great day.